All right, welcome everybody. My name is Rick Howard. I'm the Chief Security Officer for Palo Alto Networks, and we're going to talk about this thing, okay? But we're going to talk about a lot of things too. So this is open-ended conversation. You guys think I'm full of crap? Just raise your hand, and we will discuss it. All right. But first, this is about intelligence now. So we need to figure out how technical the crowd is. I know you guys think that you're a technical crowd, but I'm going to give you a quiz. So get ready. You're going to take notes. This is the way it's going to go. All right. So we're going to figure out geeks versus non-geeks on how they react to repetitive tasks. Okay? We're going to decide who's better at this, all right? And I got this off the internet, so you know it's true. You've already seen this chart, okay? All right, so we got a chart. All geek presentations need a chart that we can show. So on the y-axis is how much time do you spend on your repetitive task? All right, and on the x-axis is how big is that task, all right? So we have two groups we're going to measure, the non-geeks. These are the beautiful people. Look around the room. These are not you people, okay? So, and we have the kind of geeks. These are my people, all right? These are the kind of people I hang around with, all right? So this is my kind of fashion statement. So both of us, when we start with our tasks, the smaller size tasks, we're doing it manually, so both the geeks and the non-geeks do it the same way. All right, but after a time, as that task gets bigger and bigger, the geeks get annoyed. All right, we start to write a script to automate it because we don't want to do it anymore by ourselves. All right, and finally we get it done, and we are no longer spending any time on that particular task. But right about here is when the non-geeks, the beautiful people, start making fun of us because they think we're wasting our time doing the stupid automated thing when you could just get the task done, right? But right about here is when those people lose, because every time past this is we are the winner, because they are spending time on this and we are no longer automating that task, and we are the winners and we can do this dance. Anybody remember this person? Okay, how many old people remember the church lady? Okay, wow, not too many. Okay, but can anybody do the dance? All right, that's about as close as I get, all right, so show of hands, how many people are the beautiful people? Who's gonna admit they're beautiful? You can do that in the back, thank you, sir, okay. Appreciate you doing that, all right. How many geeks do we have in the crowd? Everybody, excellent, all right. So by the Fear, Uncertainty, and Doubt Committee of the State of California, I hereby deem you worthy to hear the rest of this presentation, all right. All right, so here we go. We're gonna talk about how to do intelligence, but really, we wanna talk about why we do intelligence, and the things that make up intelligence and how you do it the right way, all right? So you guys know this person, Elon Musk. He is a serial entrepreneur, right? He tackles big, giant, hairy problems, okay, that no one thinks that can get done, right? He likes these big problems, okay, but we think are impossible to solve, and he is an out-of-the-box thinker, all right? And whenever possible, his companies reinvent the tech from the ground up. They build the things themselves as they learn the problem domain. In other words, Mr. Musk is a first principle thinker. Anybody heard of first principles before? Aristotle, Descartes, those kinds of things? No? This is like elementary school. Remember, anybody heard of Aristotle before? Thank you very much, all right. So, okay, I first heard of first principles when I read about this book, Principia Mathematica, I think I said that right, written by these two guys, Whitehead and Russell, back in 1913. Right? And back then, math practitioners could solve both sides of a math paradox by using current theory. So the theory wasn't that good. They decided they were going to fix that problem by rethinking the problem of math, building the language of math from the ground up, and getting rid of all these kind of paradoxes. Now, Mr. Musk says that most of us solve problems through analogy. Okay? We take a problem that's similar to ours, we look at their solution, and we try to adopt that solution for our problem. And in that way, we incrementally move the problem space forward. But he says in order to leap ahead, take a giant leap in the problem space, we have to understand the problem completely. Okay? We have to boil everything down to the fundamentals of what the problem is. Okay? And he thinks that we should put everything on sort of a knowledge semantic tree. All right, so first principles then in a semantic tree is you have a big trunk, the essence of the thing you're trying to solve, and then you have the big limbs on the tree, the supporting elements of it, and then further on you have the leaves as you discover more and more facts about the problem domain. So first principles then are so fundamental, so self-evident, that all experts agree, that we would all agree that they are true, okay? They are atomic, right? And we use them like building blocks to learn about the problem domain. Anything new that we discover has to be built on the backs of all our first principles, or they're not worth having them in the problem domain. So to this point, Whitehead and Russell, when they were writing their book, it took them 80 pages to prove that 1 + 1 = 2. Come on, that's really funny. 80 pages, right? Now, Russell said, that might be something useful to know in the future. I think we can all agree to that, all right? Okay, everybody wake up. This is a really funny joke. You should be laughing out loud right now, okay? That's the best joke there is in the whole presentation, so that's it, okay? So there's nothing else, okay? So network defenders, we've known from the very beginning when the internet began that we were gonna have to protect it, okay? And what we did was the security vendor community said, here's some products that you can have to help you do that. We were all too willing to do that kind of thing, all right? But there was no first principle design to it. There was nobody saying, I wonder what the real problem is. We just saw what bad guys did, built tools to counteract what those bad guys did, and keep throwing them onto our networks, right? So after 25 years of doing this, what we have is a hodgepodge of technology, process, and people, okay, that is not that effective, okay? That is so complex, so expensive, and so hard to manage that bad guys regularly breach our computer systems, all right? And what we really want to do is get away from this 25 years of incremental improvement and do a giant leap ahead in our problem domain. What Mr. Musk says, we need to develop our semantic tree for the network defender. And I'm saying all this as prefatory comments because this intelligence is a significant piece of the semantic tree for what we're trying to do. All right, so when Whitehead and Russell wrote their book, 80 pages to prove 1 + 1 = 2, they were basically defining terms so that we could all speak on the same language. We're gonna have to do that too here as we go through this. So the first piece of it is network defenders. What are those? That's us. We're the people that are trying to protect bad guys from getting into our networks. That's us, right? They're the bad guys, adversary groups, adversaries, right? Those are the people, the teams of people who are attacking your organization. And I think we forget that sometimes in our discussions of how we prevent or secure our networks. These are people behind these things. Sometimes there are teams of one, and sometimes they're teams inside your own network, like for insider threat. It doesn't matter, there are people behind those attacks. They have motivations. They're not just doing it for fun for the most part. There's espionage, crime, hacktivism, warfare, mischief, and terrorism, okay? And they're trying to accomplish some sort of mission, okay? And when they want to do that kind of a thing, they develop playbooks that they use to launch at your networks. Okay, these aren't the attacks, this is the recipe, the to-do list that they have to say, in order to break into your network, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, right? So they develop those playbooks. So adversaries, when they develop their playbooks, when they pick out a victim they want to attack, they launch their attacks, and we call that an adversary campaign. All right, so there's a difference between what a playbook is and the actual campaign that's actually going on in the wild. All right, other thing we have to realize is that not all threats are important. Okay, this is something new to us. When I grew up, everything was important. Our hair would catch on fire if any kind of thing would happen. And what we have to realize as an organization is that just isn't true, right? Prudent network defenders put all the potential threats on a risk matrix. All right, so that we can figure out what's more important, okay? On the x-axis is likelihood. How likely is that threat to come after your organization? On the far left, it is, oh, I'm sorry, I backed up too far. On the far left, it's so rare that you probably don't even have to worry about it. And on the far right, it is almost certain that you're gonna have to deal with that problem. So you have to kind of rack and stack it that way. On the y-axis is impact. How impactful to your organization is the threat if it's successful? Right, so on the bottom end, it's so low that it's not going to be material to your organization. And on the high end of it, it is so extreme that it might wipe your organization off the planet. Okay, so those are the way you kind of rack and stack this stuff. All right, so those are prefatory statements. We are now ready to start thinking about what are the first principles for network defenders. Okay, we're going to get to the mission now. And so when we boil everything down to people, process, and technology, what is the thing we are trying to solve? What is the essential thing that you do in your day-to-day activity? Or I know you do a lot of things, we're all busy, you don't have time to do all the stuff you're supposed to do, but when you boil all of that thing down, what is it you're trying to do? Okay, what is the thing you tell your boss? This is what I'm trying to accomplish. Anybody got any ideas? Keep the bad guys out. That's a good one. Slow them down. Keep the business running. I'm getting closer. I think this is unfair. I've been thinking about this for a year, so I'm ahead of you guys. Or I know you're just seeing this for the first time. But all these are good. But we're going to boil it down further, get it down further, get it down further, all right? What is the atomic thing that we can't pull apart any further, okay? If you want to tell your boss this is it, this is the essential thing, what is it? So, and better yet, okay, what should it be? Because you might be doing something that maybe you're kind of off in the wrong direction. So really, what should it be? And even better than that, what would we all say it should be? Okay, because a fundamental principle is all the experts agree that this is the thing that we should be worried about. Okay? Anybody got any other guesses? Did I change anybody's mind yet? No? How to keep your butt out. That's a good one, okay? I like that one. I think that's part of the leaves, though, okay? We'll get back to that, okay? All right, so according to Musk, this is what we have to do. Identify the trunk and the big branches so that later on, when we find out what the leaves are, those facts in our problem domain, we'll have something to hang them on. They won't just be out there by themselves saying, well, I think this is true, right? All right, so we're going to develop the Network Defender semantic tree in this presentation. You guys are going to help me out. I'm going to show the trunk, and we're going to show 5 limbs, and we'll even talk about some of the leaves. All right, here's the trunk. Network defenders, their essential task, according to me, and I've been thinking about this for about a year, so I'm ahead of you guys, so you can see if you think I'm full of crap yet, all right? All right, the atomic thing that we can't pull apart any further, this trunk of the tree is preventing material impact to your organization. Now, material impact is the key word. These are business terms that we should be able to convey to our leaders, right? What is material impact? Anybody want to take a guess? Somebody tell me what material impact is. Costs money, but maybe, no, that's sort of it, but it has to cost so much money that it makes the company dip somehow, right? It's a real damage to it. Not just that it costs a little bit of money, but there is real some damage to the company when it happens, okay? So that's what material impact is. And if you're a government organization, it's a little bit different because you don't make revenue, but it's something that happens to your organization, let's call one out like OPM, okay, that makes their entire organization get restructured because they are completely out of control, all right? So, or what? Yes, okay. All right, so if you are doing, it is the fundamental thing that drives everything else. You should be preventing material impact in everything that you do, and if you are doing anything else that is not preventing material impact, you are wasting resources that you could be using to dedicate to that, all right? So that's what you should be focusing on. So what that means to us, and when you're looking at the risk matrix, is that we don't really care too much about those low impact consequences to our network. Why are you wasting resources on that? If it is not material to you, why are you trying to prevent it? Okay, move on, do something better, okay? On the x-axis, the likelihood, if you were worried about things that are so rare that they are never gonna happen or likely never to happen, why are you spending resources on that? What we should really be doing, the trunk of the tree then, is preventing material impact from these kinds of adversaries who are most likely to come after your organization, okay? And when they do and they are successful, will cause high damage to your company or to your government group. Anybody disagree? Has anybody thought of this before? I think this is really innovative, but you've already done those. I can just stop the presentation now. We can go home and get coffee, yeah? No? So far, so good. All right, so that's what I think the trunk of the tree is, preventing high-risk material impact. So if you guys are gonna go with me on that, let's keep building the tree, okay? The first limb I'm gonna put out there is establish a robust threat prevention program. I know you've heard about threat prevention all through this conference, okay? It's not just marketing material, okay? It is essential to how we protect our organizations. And we've kind of gotten away from it in the last couple of years. All right, I guess in the late 2000s, when all those detection technologies that came out that were really good and that we all bought, okay, and we all had them in our networks, we started to think that we just needed to do detection and not prevention, okay? And that's really a dumb thing to do. We can stop 99% of the known bad guys on the planet. Why leave that off the table? Yep. All right, so network defenders, okay, and bad guys, they have one thing in common. We both don't have unlimited resources, okay? That's just true. Right? Bad guys don't invent new ways to attack you every time they launch a new attack. They don't have the resources to do it. That would be a waste of time, right? What they do is they roll out their playbook, okay, and roll them out at various victims. They may have to modify them here and there to get to different things, but it's essentially the same playbook. So adversaries, when they do launch their campaigns against their victims, okay, they leave indicators of compromise in their wake. These are digital clues left in our networks that they have been there as they are trying to work their way through the attack lifecycle. All right, so this is my formal definition of indicators of compromise. I'll let you read that for a second. Okay, we are trying to identify those unique indicators of compromise that tells me that it's a specific adversary campaign, okay, coming at my network, right? Down the attack lifecycle. We're not looking for one indicator, we're looking for sets of indicators of compromise so that we can uniquely identify that campaign and know that we have prevention controls in place to stop them. All right, so this is my formal definition of the attack lifecycle. You guys know the story of this, right? This is really the kill chain. Lockheed Martin copyrighted the term kill chain, so we can't use it in our marketing materials. All security companies have their different version of it. Ours is the attack lifecycle. So when I say lifecycle, think kill chain, all right? So this is my formal definition of what it is. What it really is that to-do list that the adversary puts together in order to attack your network. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this other thing. Right? And as they work their way through the attack lifecycle, that recon piece, as they deliver the initial attack to the first endpoint, and the endpoint can be your laptops, it could be your servers, it could be your copiers, whatever it is, wherever they can breach, make a beachhead in your network, right, and actually compromise that endpoint, they usually establish a command and control channel back out to get more instructions to do what they came there to do in the first place. And once they've done that, they can launch that malicious code to steal your data, to steal your credit cards, to destroy stuff, whatever it is they came there to do. And that's the attack lifecycle. So white hat researchers and security vendors, and we have a couple of them down here. Unit 42 guys, raise your hand. Okay, these are my guys, all right? They do this for us, all right? And intelligence groups at various governments like the NSA, they watch and discover new indicators of compromise by observing campaign behavior on the internet. And we see new indicators of compromise every day. You see that if you guys are customers of autofocus, you see that kind of thing all the time. And we do know that adversaries don't reinvent the playbook every time. So that means we have the knowledge to prevent most of the attacks that are happening on the internet at any given day, right? We have the ability to do it. The network defender community has the ability to stop most of the attacks that are out there going on right now, right? And that's good because what does MOS stand for? That's a little typo, I think. Oh, most. Oh, that's what it is. I'm gonna get after my guy that makes the slides. That's me, okay, so. So we can stop most of them, and that's what we're trying to do, stop most of the things that we can possibly do in our prevention program, all right? So this is my formal definition of what threat prevention is, but really what it is converting indicators of compromise into prevention controls that you put into your network, either through Palo Alto Networks or whatever other point products you have in your organization. That conversion is a massive part of your threat prevention program. All right, so it is possible to put the exact right prevention control at the precise spot in the attack lifecycle to completely disrupt an attack campaign. All right, it's possible to do that. So it's just logical then that if we put all the prevention controls at each spot in the attack lifecycle that pertains to that campaign, that our potential of stopping that attack goes up even further. And that's why we have 99% chance of stopping those adversaries of known campaigns, because that's what we do with the Palo Alto Networks platform. And that's what you should be doing in your own organizations with whatever technology that you have deployed. And that is the first limb of our Network Defender semantic tree. Establish a robust threat prevention program. And this is not sexy. This is not chasing the adversary around, doing super secret squirrel spy stuff. This is nuts and bolts maintenance of your systems, okay? Hygiene of your systems, and it's the bulk of the work that your organization should be doing. All right, the second limb. Second limb, if you have a threat prevention program, you absolutely need a detection program. Right? And the reason is threat prevention is not enough, okay? Because the bad guys continually improve their craft. They are looking for ways to get around all the controls that you have in place. They are inventing new plays for their playbook every day, right? And those are unknown until we discover them, right? So network defenders then, okay, if they are relying just on threat prevention to prevent material impact, they're gonna fail in two big ways, okay? The first one is, this is really going slow, when adversaries build new playbooks, we won't know about them on the first attack, all right? So, and they may be able to sneak into your network before you see them, and you need to be able to have a way to get through that, right? So network defenders need to be worried about those kinds of things, right? And the second thing is, right, you may not be really good at deploying your threat prevention program. There may be a spot in your network where you failed to have good hygiene. And that's where the bad guy's gonna go. So you need to be able to go find that person if he's in there and get them out of your network as fast as you can. All right, so threat detection then is basically hunting, okay, for known indicators of compromise. All right, you may be seeing where this is going in terms of intelligence. Where do you get indicators of compromise from? Your intelligence team. We're coming to that in a second, all right? So your hunting team uses known indicators of compromise to search their networks down the attack lifecycle to see if you see any bad guys in your network. All right? And the second thing a hunting team does is look at abnormal network behavior, all right, so that you can understand what's going on in your network. Say, this is abnormal, I've never seen it before. Is it benign or is it malicious? All right, and that's what your hunting team needs to do. Hunting is different than prevention, okay? Prevention is kind of passive, okay? You're just kind of maintaining things. Hunting is aggressively going after bad guys, all those attack campaigns that we're talking about, and aggressively understanding what's going on in your network, okay? So it's a lot more active component to it. And that's the second limb of our semantic tree, establish a robust threat detection program. So far, so good? Anybody disagree yet? You may have any problems with what I've said before? What's the Unit 42 guys think? We're okay? Good? All right. I'm coming to that. Hold that thought, okay? Because the third limb to this thing, we got to do the third thing and then I'll come to answer your question, all right? All right. The third limb you have to have then is if you have a prevention program and a detection program, you have to have a way to get rid of the bad guy once you discover them. So call it the threat eradication program. So threat detection is looking at trying to discover, okay, new unknown indicators of compromise, and that's what network defenders are trying to do, right? Once we find these new indicators of compromise, oh my God, they're there, now we have to stomp them out of your network. Okay, that's the goal of a threat eradication program. And you want to do it quickly. This is my formal definition of it. All right, but what it really is mitigate the impact of that adversary as they're inside your network. Okay, that's what you're trying to do. They may be in there. Let's make sure they are as least effective as you possibly can make. All right, so we do this in two ways, or I think, yes. First one is you take those now new indicators of compromise and turn them into prevention controls just like you did in your threat prevention program, right? And the second thing you want to do is understand the context of the adversary, right? Understand their motivations and what they normally try to do. So if an adversary is trying to steal M&A documents from your legal team, you might want to know that beforehand and realize if you see them in your network, make sure the legal team's stuff is protected. So kind of proactive as opposed to reactive incident response. All right, so you got to put all those things in context. And that's the third limb, threat eradication. So I'm getting to your question here in a second. We're going to the fourth limb because it's important to say is I call these things the network defender's Trinity because you can't do one and not the other. You just can't. All right, you got to do them all. These are all essential. Okay, they're all great, and you're going to have some success if you do one and two and maybe not the third one. But if you are not doing all three of them together, okay, you are not going to be successful at preventing material impact to your organization, okay? They are inextricably, I can't even say that, inextricably linked, thank you. They are atomic and they are irreducible. You have to do all three or you're going to fail at your job, okay? So that's what I'm calling the network defender's Trinity, and that is the fourth limb, so that's the question. You have to readjust your resources so you are applying it to all three. So tell me about your problem over there.
Funding. The operations teams are kind of, well, firewalls are boring now, sort of.
Well, see, I think that's the result of incremental thinking.
Sure.
Okay, the reason we want to talk about first principles is because we break all that down and say, how would we do it if we started today? If you had unlimited resources and you get to start over from a blank whiteboard, you do it this way and not the way that you're describing.
Sure.
And I realize this is hard to get done,
sure,
right? But here's the path forward, yeah? All right. So the last limb, now we're finally here. I know you guys all came about how to hear about doing intelligence. We're finally here. I've finally come to the point where I can explain to you why we need intelligence and how you might go about doing it. And that's the first part, okay? Embracing cybersecurity intelligence collection And ubiquitous sharing, it's two pieces. You have to have an intelligence team that collect the intelligence, and once you understand the adversary, you need to give it to as many people as who can consume it, right? And that's the Palo Alto network philosophy. When you're working on this network defender Trinity, okay, the thing that drives that whole process is information. Information on the adversary, okay? How they go about attacking your network and how you might be able to prevent them from doing that, okay? You need to collect information, you need to sort it, you need to evaluate it, and you need to prioritize it, all right? So this is my formal definition of what an intelligence program is. I'll let you read through that. But if I was going to boil it down to the essential things, it is really knowing your enemy, okay? Knowing who is trying to come after you, okay? And dedicating resources to understanding that, right? So network defenders, as they develop their network defender Trinity, okay, they have an intelligence program, okay, that's working now, and their main focus is to figure out indicators of compromise and making sure they're getting turned into prevention controls down the attack lifecycle. This is the element, this is the team that's doing that for you, right? In other words, they need to maximize their visibility in your network so they can make those kind of understanding. They understand everything going on in your organization, okay? They use indicators of compromise. They are the ones collecting indicators of compromise for your prevention program, for your detection program, and they are the ones telling you how to mitigate that adversary as they show up on your network. They're the team that's doing that, okay? So here's my cool logo for you guys from now on. That's the intelligence team, right? All right, so, but you need to do other things, okay? Besides just having an intelligence team that does that, okay? If you're doing it in a vacuum, it's really hard to do, and it's hard work, all right? And you may not know everything, all right? You're focusing on the things coming at you, you see every day, but you don't have the complete picture of everything. So the idea here then is we want to share that intelligence with as many people in the community that can consume it. There's a couple of reasons why we want to do that. First, you don't have to be the experts at all adversary campaigns, okay? You only have to be the ones that you really know about. Maybe it's 2 or 3 of them. You can be the expert of that. Other people in the community will be experts at the others, and together we can understand the entire attack landscape. So right about here is when I asked the group, how many playbooks do you think there are? How many on any given day? I know we change every day, but let's say today. How many playbooks are actually going on today? You might want to make a guess. Is it 1 million? Is it 100,000? Is it 10? What do you think it is? Playbooks, any kind of playbook. So I'll tell you what I've learned. I get to go around the world talking to people like you just about security. Government organizations think there's about 500. US, UK, Asian governments think there's about 500 playbooks on any given day. Non-government people think it's about 10,000 to 20,000, all right? I'm not sure what's right, but let's split the middle, okay? Let's call it 5,000. Let's say there's 5,000 playbooks on any given day. I can track 5,000 things in a spreadsheet if you just focus on it, all right? That's a doable problem. So you guys focus on the adversary playbooks that you think are good. You share them with other people, right? And they understand the playbooks they're worried about, and together we can learn 5,000 playbooks and share those over and over, and we will have all the prevention controls for all the known adversaries. That's a doable problem, okay? All right. The other thing we could do is we get more robust information about the intelligence program, all right? Because I may know this adversary group, he may know another piece that I didn't know. Okay, so now we have a fuller set of intelligence about how that adversary operates. So that's what the 5th limb is. Developing your intelligence program and sharing it with anybody who can consume it. And I want to talk about this real quick. This is something that Palo Alto Networks is doing. How many people have heard the Cyberthreat Alliance? Yes, sir. You had a question? Anybody heard this before? Some of you? All right, going with our philosophy of we want to share threat intelligence with everybody, security vendors have been slow to the game of sharing intelligence because you know what? We want to sell it to you. We don't want to give it to you, right? So, but these guys, these 4 CEOs said, you know what? That's the wrong way to think about the problem. All security vendors should have the same intelligence so we can make better products. So we agreed last year that these 4 companies would share threat intelligence with each other. Okay, that's called the Cyberthreat Alliance, right? So this is the formal words. Here's our mission statement, okay? We formed back in September 2014. We are all competitors in the security space. We all sell some sort of a firewall or some sort of protect and control down the kill chain, but we are sharing threat intelligence with each other daily. right? These are the committee members from each of the companies. I have to deal with these characters every day to see if we can get going, because you know what? We don't really like each other, right? And so we have to kind of figure out how to get this done, right? We had to do two things to get this done. We had to build trust, okay, and we had to build some infrastructure to share the intelligence. You know how we built the trust? We came to Vegas a couple of times and drank beer together, okay? That's how you build trust, okay? So we did that for about a year. We got it all going. We brought on new contributing members, Barracuda, Reversing Labs, Telefonica, and Zscaler, okay? All of them, so 8 total vendors in the alliance so far, okay? And last year when President Obama came to Silicon Valley for his first summit outside of Washington, D.C., he came to Silicon Valley to do the cybersecurity summit. He specifically pointed to Palo Alto Networks and the Cyberthreat Alliance as the way forward for information sharing and making better internet security. So that's kind of cool, all right? The things that makes the alliance different from, let's say, ISACs. You guys familiar with ISACs? ISACs are the information sharing organizations like the financial sector ISAC and the telecom ISAC, all those. What makes the alliance different is two things. Everybody in the club has to contribute, and we do it daily. Right now, you have to share 1,000 pieces of malicious code every day, and we keep count. I get a note in my email box every day that says, you know, Palo Alto didn't meet the standard today. Phone calls are made, we yell at each other, we fix it for the next day. So you have to share. What happens in the ISACs is a handful of people share, most of the members of the alliance or the ISACs just consume the intelligence, okay? The second thing that happens in the alliance is whatever Semantic gives me, we dump it right into the product. You heard Lee Claret say yesterday it takes us 5 minutes to turn a new indicator of compromise into a prevention control. So whatever we get from Semantic, we're dumping that right to you guys into the product set. And they're doing the same thing for their customers, okay? So we're sharing intelligence to make our own products better. All right, so these are the CEOs, and they called us in we brief these guys every quarter to say, here's the progress we're making. They said, what are we gonna do with this thing? You know, we're sharing 1,000 pieces of malcode a day. Or, at Palo Alto Networks, we collect 20 million samples a week, so sharing 1,000 a day is not really moving the needle, okay? What are we gonna do with it? All right, so we came in and briefed them, and this is what we told them. This is the big, hairy idea that we're gonna try to get done in the Cyberthreat Alliance, okay? This is the game-changing idea. Here it is. We don't just wanna share malicious code with each other. We wanna share 5,000 adversary playbooks every day in real time. Okay, every day in real time with every security vendor that's in the alliance. And if we get enough security vendors in the alliance, and the number is pretty small, I think, something like 50, any organization on the planet that connects to the internet will use one of those security vendors in their network to protect their organizations, will have real-time updates for every adversary campaign going forward. That's a game changer if we can get that done. So the ask for you all, when vendors come to talk to you to sell you their wares, ask them why they're not a member of the Cyberthreat Alliance and point them my way, right? Because we're going to put them in and get them into this club, right? All right, so I'm briefing the CEOs. Yes, sir.
Quick question. In the education space, we still have these content filters. We have these content filters in Bridgeline before they hit the Palo Altos, and they do a lot of the security work also in the URL. Do you want to get these companies in the alliance?
They need to come in. Okay, bring it, point them my way. Yep. So I'm briefing the CEOs. I got my Superman cape on. I got my Superman tights on. I'm going to save the internet speech. That's the one I just gave you, all right? And they said, hold on, bucko, okay? Let's see if you guys can do one. Let's see if together you can go after one adversary campaign and make our collective customers safer than we have been doing by ourselves, all right? And you get 90 days to do it, all right? So we went after CryptoWall 3, okay? And Josh, raise your hand. Josh is one of the key investigators on this thing for us. We put our best analysts on it and tried to figure out CryptoWall 3, and this is what we discovered. In about 90 days or so, the adversaries made $325 million in revenue, okay, in CryptoWall 3, okay? That's phenomenal, and that's a low number. We think it's a lot bigger than that. We just couldn't prove it, okay? So $325 million, and think about that. The back office of that, you know how CryptoWall works, right? Bad guys compromise grandma's machine, encrypts the hard drive. Somebody from the adversaries call grandma and say, you want your pictures of your kittens and your grandkids back? Pay $500 in Bitcoin. And their back office help desk walks grandma through a $500 Bitcoin transaction. Think about that kind of organization, all right? So pretty phenomenal. So in that investigation that Josh led, about 839 command and control URLs we need to figure out. Even had a second tier command and control line, which is kind of interesting. 49 unique identifiers in the campaign, meaning if we saw one of those in your network, you knew it was crypto wall 3. Okay, you knew who it was and you could stop it. So 400,000 attempted infections in that 90 days, and about 4,000 different kinds of malware that's associated with it. We even built a dashboard that you can go and check how bad it was, okay, on a day-to-day basis, all right? So we get to the end of this, we publish a white paper because that's what security vendors do, all right? And the very next day, the adversaries behind Crypto Wall 3, they went to Crypto Wall 4, okay? Now, we didn't make them go. They knew they were all ready to go. What is that, 0 or 1? It's 5, okay, I got 5 minutes, all right? So we didn't make them go, but we bumped them, okay? We made them spend resources to go probably sooner than they wanted to go. And that's what we're trying to do with the Cyberthreat Alliance, cause bad guys to spin wildly out of control to keep up with the network defenders of the world who are preventing them from coming into their networks, okay? And I think that's possible to do, all right? So the good news is we got that done and we're moving forward with the group. We have some technical issues we have to solve, how to scale this operation, which we're working on. They're not impossible to solve, we just have to solve them. We'll probably get something proof of concept-wise done by the summer, okay, so that's good. I'm not gonna go through all these because I'm out of time, but these are the 4 big research projects that we have to solve. You can read through those if you'd like. But these are doable problems. These aren't impossible problems. We just have to figure out how to make them work for all the members of the Alliance. And that's the takeaway. As a security vendor, you may find this weird, but we want to share intelligence with anybody who can consume it, okay? We are going to do that. That is our philosophy. That is the reason we are part of the Cyberthreat Alliance. All right, so we are at the end. We talked about 25 years of incremental improvement and how that has not been that effective. And what we really want to do is leap ahead by boiling down the problem, now that we understand it, into something fundamental and build up from there, okay? These 3 first principle thinkers are the reason I was doing this, all right? And, okay, I went too far. Okay, we want to figure out these fundamental things and agree what they are so we can build that problem space up and understand it completely. So in this presentation, we talked about the trunk and the 5 limbs. Let's go through them real fast. At the trunk, prevent high-risk material impact, your threat prevention program, your threat detection program, your threat eradication program, knowing that they all 3 go together. You can't do one without the other, right? And finally, building that intelligence program and sharing that intelligence with anybody who can consume it, okay? I'm at the end. The takeaway for you guys is go to this white paper that I've had listed here. It's on the Palo Alto Network website. All right, it's a lot more detail about what I've talked about. It talks about a lot more of the leaves, okay? And I'd love some feedback if you have some ideas about how to make this better, all right? And then some of the other stuff we have there. We have time for a couple of questions if you want to do any of that. How much time do we have? Like 0 minutes? Anybody got any questions? Should we share with the government? Is that the question? So that's a great question, okay? So let me ask you. Do we share with the US government? Should we? Maybe. Do we share with the Russians? Do we share with the Chinese? When I talk to government folks, they say, I don't want to know if I want to do that. I tell you, yes. We want to share with everybody because I don't care if the adversary knows what I know about him. It will make them spend resources to up their game. And only the best adversaries will be able to keep up. And what I mean by that, we're going to reduce that playbook pool from 5,000 to something smaller, right? And then we'll battle with the advanced adversaries. So yes, share it with governments.
Do y'all currently treat the government? Do y'all currently treat the government as an adversary? I'm serious.
Yeah, no. If we see what they're doing, they're an adversary. Okay, they're an adversary. All right, and I think who's the government? It could be Russia, it could be China, it could be Israel, it could be the U.S. You know, it could be any of those. Right. The thing is that we are all, Palo Alto Networks and all the members of the Alliance, we're US-based companies, but we're all internationally deployed. So we're not really, we don't have any specific allegiance to any specific customer, right? Or government. Yeah, we would block it. Absolutely we would block it, okay? No question, yeah. Yes, sir.
Is there any communication in between Unit 42 and LM CERT?
An LM CERT.
Yeah, like the people who created cyber kill chain type stuff.
Oh, do you guys talk to the Lockheed Martin guys? Yeah, we are members of the DICE. Okay, so DICE is the Defense Industrial Base Information Sharing Group. Palo Alto Networks kind of recently joined, so we talked to them through there, but we don't have any direct contact with them. Yeah. Good question. Anybody else? Anybody completely disagree with what I just said? All right, good. We're going to go forward and adopt this. So next year it'll be homework. I want to know how you guys all got here when we do this next year, okay? All right. So thank you for listening, everybody. I appreciate it. Go on to your next thing. I appreciate it.